All right, what's going on, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls? Welcome back to another episode of the Remote Closing Academy podcast. And you might be able to tell by the title of this podcast or this episode on YouTube, and we have made it to 10 episodes, 10 interviews of remote closers that are absolutely crushing it from going through the Remote Closing Academy, which is really awesome. I can't wait to hit 100. I know we're going to get there in 100 weeks if we post one of these every single week. So stick around and you'll be one of the first to say, hey, I listened to that Aaron guy on episode 10. So in today's episode, what we're going to jump into is honestly one of my favorite episodes up to this point. And there's a couple of reasons why, but I think the story behind this is extremely powerful. This was one of the ones where, if you know me at all, I'm generally I'm a softie, right? There's different things that just kind of like break me, and the content and the stuff that we went over, and how moving this guy's story is from where he came from, and the work that he put in and the dedication to really, I'm even just like getting chills about it now, the dedication that he's been able to really put himself and his family in a much better position and a place is astounding to me. So without further ado, sit back, relax, and know you guys are going to really enjoy this one, and we'll see you on the inside. So I'm really excited to have Michael on. He's going to tell his story about how he got into remote closing, some of his background, and all that kind of stuff. But before we jump too deep into it, man, welcome to the podcast.
I appreciate it, Aaron. Thank you.
You're welcome. So let's talk about it. Let's break it down. On some of these, or a lot of these episodes, I like to rewind the clocks a little bit and take a step back and figure out, what you were doing before remote closing. And I think, I think you're probably the second or third person that I know that was in the military, like prior experience in the military, and actually, came out of that to transition more into this spot. So, well, all that being said, let's just, give us just a background. What were you doing before remote closing, as far back as you want to go?
Sure. I think a good place to start would be my stint in the Navy. I did 10 and a half years. I was as a nuclear mechanic aboard submarines. So 5 years of that was aboard a submarine. And, we lived on the island of Guam for a while. That was pretty cool. Beaches. Both my kids were born there, actually. So we got 10 birth certificates each, so we wouldn't have to fly back. But and then we spent the rest of our time in Washington State. But being in the Navy, I developed so many skills. I led so many teams, and the one thing I figured out I really liked doing in that time was just that team building. Connecting with people and allowing them to really grow, and then just the ability to see that growth is what I found just kind of fed my inner fire. But being in the Navy didn't afford a lot of family time. So, we were tossing around, do I stay in for 20? Do I get out? So I ended up getting out just over 10 years. And now we moved close to family, and we're back in Kansas City, Missouri now. And we're just 2 miles down the road from my mother-in-law, which is a good thing. She's an amazing lady. I love her to death.
Sometimes it's a toss-up on that. So good to know.
Yeah, no, she's great. We hang out all the time. We'll have coffees on Saturdays and stuff. Anyway, so that was my background. It was just, it was tough, really. I didn't get to see a lot of my kids in their early years. So just kind of reprioritizing, and figuring out what was important. And so, I got out. I didn't want to work for anybody, so I attempted to start a business. We were going to solve the housing crisis in Washington State, right? It was so cool. I was meeting with a lot of really neat people. Then COVID happened, and all the startup funding and everything dried up. So, I had to rethink everything. And I found a couple of jobs between there and now, and now I'm working as a plant manager over at a textile factory. It pays the bills, and we got our house, and I'm really thankful for that, because it provided the means at the time. But probably like many people, I was looking into other options, and Cole's video came along, and it was just like, it hit me really hard, and I was like, with my passion, since I figured out my passion was people, and this was a way to really connect one-on-one all day, every day. I was like, man, I could do this, and I could feel great at the end of every day. So that's what really appealed to me. And, like I bust my butt wherever I work, right?
Hmm.
And just having that ability to have that control of how much I make based on how good I am or how much work I put into it. Like if you're willing to put in the work, the sky's the limit. You can literally do anything with this line of work. So, you just keep adjusting and keep getting better. And then you can just say, whoop, I want to make a little bit extra this week. So you just, you put in the extra work and you just do it. Like having that direct control over your lifestyle and, the time with your family is just, it's super ideal.
Hmm. Yeah.
Mhm.
How old are your kids?
My son, he just turned 9, and my daughter is 6. She just went to school for picture day today.
Nice. That's awesome, man. And I think even and we were talking even just right before this, it's the being able to like have the flexibility. I mean, I know you're still within the job right now, but like you took off this morning so that you can record this episode and put more time into what you're currently doing with the new offer, and we'll talk about that in a second. But like, doesn't it feel great just like be able to like get them ready for school and like just be present,
Yeah, that is, you nailed it. Present, right? That was my whole goal, is just be present in my wife's life, my kids' lives, my immediate family's life. Um, and yeah, you're exactly right. Being able to take the morning off and have those little interactions with my daughter and brush her hair and help her put her little lip gloss on and eat breakfast with her and have that, just those little connections every day.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I think that's really what hits home with me, just being able to have that flexibility and have the choice to spend time together. It's been amazing. It's, get a little teary eyed now just thinking
Yeah.
about it, just how far we've come, because it was, I mean, the last time we were on mission, we were out 297 days, almost a whole year.
Man.
So I know there's other military members out there who have been out for longer than that, but that's been my experience. But just to have the choice to
Mm-hmm.
be there has just been phenomenal. It's been amazing, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm so happy.
Yeah. What do you think, like, with your time in the military, and you kind of already talked about it, how like you're gonna put like your 120% or 200% in everything that you do, but like, do you feel like like you learned things there that is like transition into like your work ethic within like being able to put work in for remote closing stuff?
I think I think it definitely has given me a lot of self discipline, but most importantly, going through a lot of hardship, and has just given me the ability to have a lot of self discovery. And so I think anyone who's had a chance to have that sort of self discovery through hardship or through challenges is the more aware you are of where your downfalls are and where your strengths are. And if you're aware of how you can use them to your advantage or elevate the parts of you that need to be elevated and work on those. Yeah, I have a bunch of military experience, and it kind of forced those situations on me. But um, really, I'm at no more of an edge than anybody else who could come in and do this.
Yeah. No, I think like because I've talked to the 10 people at this point. You're the episode 10, so it's cool just out of the people I've talked to so far, just hearing like how sometimes the past experiences like really shape them and like help them within RCA, but other times it's just like maybe not as much. But I think from what you've even said, and I think a really really valuable skill like as you progress into remote closing is just like having that experience with like leading people and like leading teams. That is so important, especially as like we're talking about like sales integrators, where you're more of like that like the team lead as like the closer, right? So not to go like too down that rabbit hole, but I'm always just curious, like the past experiences and how that's kind of molded you into where you are now. So let's fast forward a little bit into, so you see the ad from Cole. I guess, what was there ever any like hesitancies? Like, I know because you tried the business in the past, and like, was there ever any hesitancies about like, well, this closing stuff, like, I don't know anything about this, like, let's jump in? Or was it just like 100% like, okay, Cole gets it? Like, what was that whole, I guess, like situation?
Yeah. So my experience with that, I saw it, and for 11 months I researched it, and I was like, okay, what's going on here? I mean, it seems too good to be true. Like that was my thought, and I came in with a lot of skepticism, and I did my due diligence, probably part of that military coming back, but I actually thought about it and, talked to my wife about it forever, and we researched it. And I think I watched like every video he had ever put out, and like it was crazy. And I read every single testimonial I could. Um, and I was doing a bunch of research into the closing industry, and just the e-learning industry is over $300 billion. It's like internet's going to grow, e-learning is going to grow. People are going to want to learn more so from experts than they are going to want to spend a ton of money in college and years of their life maybe figuring out what they want to do. Because I mean,
Exactly.
you get to college and you're just like, well, this might be what I want to do. I hope I can spend 100 grand and figure it out, right?
On the low
So
end.
right, on the low end, right? So why not just take these, chances to learn from experts for a fraction of what you can do, college for? And I think that's really where the industry is going. So I put two and two together and I said, let's do it. I finally decided, because at some point you just have to take a chance on something. And ultimately, I'm so glad I did.
There always is that skepticism. I think even more now than, let's say, like 5 years ago, or when all this like e-learning stuff just started, because it's like it wasn't the pot wasn't what I'm trying to say, like it wasn't poisoned yet, right? Like there wasn't like people that are coming in and like selling snake oil and trying to like get one over on someone and make some money. And even what we were talking about before, like the reason that we wanted to create this podcast was like, of course, not only like tell people stories, but like to show that like you can't fake this, right? Like I can't find Michael and hire him off of Fiverr and get him to like tell his story and lie that RCA is like help change his life. I think that's just super powerful. That that we got you past, like even if it did take 11 months. Like I think that's back to what you said, just really put in the due diligence to do that. So you come in and just pulling from your from the post that you put up, you came in, there's a lot of information, you're putting the work in, you're doing 15-18 hour days just to make sure you fit everything in. How did you kind of like structure your day in a way that you were able to do that? Because a lot of people that are either jumping into remote closing don't really have the luxury to be like, all right, like I'm 18 years old. I don't have any obligations. I don't have a ton of bills. Like, so how did you like navigate all of that? Just being able to get all that into a day's work.
Yeah. It was I had to set a lot of expectations. I told my kids and my wife, I said, hey, if I jump into this, I'm really going to want to go and give it everything I got, just so I can get the most out of it. And so I can change our lives. Right. Because I knew if I put in the work on the front end, the back end was going to be so much sweeter. Right. So I said, okay, what can I realistically do every day? I said, okay, I can do 4 to 5 hours after work. So it's just like, I set up systems that work to really make my job efficient. Then I'd come home after, it was like, I'd come home and then I'd just come downstairs, and my little corner in the basement, I just like start going to the training, do a bunch of mock calls, and just one thing I'd really like to say is this community is outstanding. I mean, if you want to put the work in, there's people that are going to be there to help put the work in with, right? It's, you're not at it alone. You're with thousands of people, who are just as driven as you are. So at any point I knew I wasn't at it alone. But just, I would tell my kids, I said, hey kids, dad's going to school now. So I got to learn so I can get a new job. So, and
That's
they'd be
awesome.
like, every time when I come home, I'd be like, all right, hugs real quick. And, we do 10 minutes of play with each kid, be really deliberate in your time, and just,
Mm.
and then I'd come downstairs for the meeting. And then they would say, good luck, Dad, good luck. So I
Dude,
come
that's
down, and
awesome.
yeah, they're great kids. And my wife's been super supportive too, because she knows, I want to work hard to just give us everything we haven't had for these last, 12 years. And
Mm-hmm.
so just being, yeah, just planning on doing your best, whatever your best looks like, right? You can't do any better than that. Um, just set expectations with yourself and those around you, and and give it your all, because ultimately something that's worth doing is worth doing right.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it didn't really matter how much time I put into it, or how tired I felt. Like, it'd be like 9, 10 o'clock at night, and I'd be have another mock call coming up, and I'm like, okay. But as soon as they pop up on your screen, it's like all of that goes away, and
Yeah.
you're just like, all right, let's get it, let's do it.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the difference between like doing something that you're like called to do and like going into a job that you hate, right? Like that's what, and the kind of the sad part is like a lot of people like accept that, right? And I don't think people accept it because they like want to. I think they accept it because they think that they need to. They don't know if there's like anything outside of that. And I mean, this is what I tell Cole every day is like, I literally get paid to like have these conversations and like post on social media and rave about like the successes that people are seeing. And it's like, sometimes like I don't even look at I stop looking at the clock and it's like 1 a.m. and I'm editing videos and it's just like, I'm just having a great time doing it. So like, I can 100% relate with that. It's like, if you're doing something that, number one, that like you enjoy doing, and as a byproduct you get to make a ton of money and make a better life for your family, like there's nothing better than that, and like I'm just, yeah, it's really exciting to hear like that you're that you put the work in, you're seeing the fruits of your labor. But I'm sure there are like maybe some like just hardships, or like maybe not negatives, but just things that you've had to like work through during that time. When side question, when did you join RCA? I don't think I saw.
The beginning of August this year.
Okay, perfect. So you've sped through sped through in 2 months, like seeing really good results in that amount of time, outside of just the amount of time that has to go into to learn the stuff. Like, did you find any like hardships or setbacks or anything like that during the process?
As far as RCA goes, or personally?
Well, I guess it's kind of one and the same, right? Like if it's so yeah, just we'll keep it there and answer how you feel.
Sure. Okay. Well, both really. I mean, it was so 10 years back, my wife got diagnosed with an autoimmune disease, and so she's been on this medicine for a while to deal with it, but it's basically like chemotherapy, right? And it although not as bad as the actual untreated disease, I mean, it's still bad. And we got some blood work back. This is all really recent, probably about 3 weeks ago. And her internally, her body's just so messed up. And so I said, I thought to myself, I'm like, okay, well, we have a tough choice here. We either don't take the medicine, and let the autoimmune disease take over. We take the medicine, and it just wreaks havoc on our body, or we find a third thing that I don't even know if I can afford right now. So, and I had this realization, I'm like, why am I going to let money dictate what's best for my family? And so I said, money is not my master, And so we went to one of the best holistic doctors we could find, and we now have her on a 3-year plan to get her body healthy naturally. And I'm pretty ignorant in what holistic medicine is, but just from the research we've done so far and what my wife's told me, I mean, I'm 100% on board. I mean, even if it just affects up here, I mean, your brain has a lot of power over your body too. So I'm all for it. And so literally as soon as we did that and we opted in, and it's going to be an extra quite a bit a month.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't know how I'm going to pay for it. I literally got my job offer back from the pipeline and a Loom video from a guy named Tom that said, "Hey, you've been accepted." And I dropped to my knees and I started crying. Like,
bro.
And I'm but so
fuck,
so
dude,
RCA
you got
is
me.
just like, dude,
yeah,
I'm sorry, I can't hold it back.
Yeah, man.
But it was crazy. It just like the timing of it all was just mind blowing. Like I can't be thankful enough.
Yeah, dude.
Like I believed in something. I went for it. I gave it everything I got, and it worked out.
Dude. Yeah, like and I just want to like say how like dude, you broke me, man. I've heard stories. I've heard stories on here, dude, and I think I just lost my contact. Nope, we're good. Yeah, like it's just how powerful it is, man. Like, and you put in the work, and like it shows on the other end, you know, like, and you have, I think that's really what sets people apart. Like, cause there's a lot of people that come through the program. Like, I'd be lying if I said like everyone sees success, you know, like it's not that. But when you have like anyone that's listening to this, that like you're either, it doesn't even have to be remote closing. Like it could be remote closing. It could be starting your own business. It could be literally anything. But as long as you have like a why that is strong enough, and you have something like support in the back end, which I mean, we have a community of, you know, like Michael said, like thousands of people that are just there to help to make sure you see success. Like you will see success. Like as easy as it sounds, right? It's not easy. It's simple. Like the plan is there. We have the process there. And, you know, Michael's shown that even just in a 2-month period, like he's been able to see, you know, a good amount of successes, right? From coming in, putting in the work and getting the jobs back. So let's touch on that. Like how did that process, and we've talked about like the pipeline in this before, you know, in other episodes, but what did that process look like? Like how did you, like what was your experience, I guess, with the pipeline?
So the pipeline was great, you know, because I put in so much work on the front end. And so my experience and what I told myself, I said, I want to go for quality. I don't want to go for speed, right? My goal was quality. So I mean, I've seen so many people get through this process in a matter of weeks. Like it's amazing how well this process works and how well the whole pipeline works. But you know, I spent 2 months really grinding it out and just learning everything I could and meeting with the people. And so to be hooked up with the offer I'm with right now, the job, you know, it's an established business. It's got tons of great leads coming in, and you know, they got a director that's going to work with you. They got 4 setters. You know, I'm going to be the 4th closer. Having 0 sales experience in the past, like, yeah, I can communicate with people and I can lead teams, but like, I had no idea, right? If they can take me, a skeptical guy, you know, who gets in after 11 months and then is able to literally turn my life around in 2 months. Why is that not worth it? It's completely worth it. That's the answer. I mean, so the process works. It's bulletproof. I mean, because RCA has so many systems to work with every different kind of person, you know, because you're going to find people in the group you click with, right? And you're going to be able to study and learn together and then get into the pipeline, you know, and they, not only do you have the pipeline, you know, which is vetted RCA clients that you guys get hooked up with, you also have, you know, you guys teach us how to find our own jobs, you know, because there's thousands and thousands of jobs out there, right? And so you guys put success up here, right? And you guys just get us there every single time. And I've seen it, you know, I'm in the program, like I see it. I talk to the people who are having success every single day. And to answer your question, it's a wonderful process. It's very detailed, you know, and no matter you guys are, RCA is equipped to handle someone with tons of experience and people have no experience. And, you know, I'll just say this, there's a lot of merit in not having any experience because you learn how to do it the right way the first time and you don't have any bad habits coming with you. And honestly, the people I've mocked with who have tons of sales experience are often the worst.
Yeah. I'll just say it. Yeah, that's what we talk about so much. There's it's that I mentioned before, like the like used cars man, like used car salesman, like that type of mentality. It's like really hard, like pressure sales. And for someone like me, like I don't like doing that. Like, and I just don't feel good after doing that. And I'm sure it's the same with you. And like even going through the process, it's that consultative like sale, and like even you getting placed on the, on the offer, and then now you get to like help people create what they want, like that life, like that's, I mean, it's probably even that much better, I mean, you just started, but so like, I know you're just going through the process, but like just having that conviction and like the testimonials that are there and like just so much stuff behind you that you can leverage to help those people too.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, yeah. If you have, if what feeds your inner fire is helping people, get into it. Just do it.
Yeah. Yeah. So let's, cause one of the things that, people are always looking forward to, I think like the story so far has like been super powerful. And like, I don't think anyone's like, oh my gosh, like, well, how much money are you making? But like, let's talk on like just the minimum KPIs of like the offer, like, or not specifically the offer itself, but like the, the price point, like minimum KPI, like what does some of that look like for someone that, again, basically an entry level closer that's never had a closing job? Like what do those numbers kind of like come out for you for that offer?
So it's $5,400 for the offer, right? You get in and they teach you how to get from 0 to your first 10K month for coaching and consulting and way beyond. I mean, they have people hitting 100 plus K months. Like it's crazy. You have literally thousands of testimonials. It's crazy. But you're making 12.5% of all cash collected on a paid in full. So someone, pays it all up front, boom, 12.5%. Otherwise it's 10%. But if I close one sale a day with 4 or 5 calls a day, I'm looking at least 10 grand a month. And that's more than I've ever made in my entire life.
Uh-huh.
Right? Like if people watching Cole's video and stuff, like 10K a month is completely real. That's just like the starting line.
Yeah.
Like 10K a month is the starting line, and you can do way more than that. And there's way more than that on this offer too. I mean, I'm just so excited to really explore everything and get really good at being a remote closer where I am.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, dude, I think a huge part of that, I just made like a YouTube video about this actually for RCA. But I think just that when some people say like, oh, I can make 10 grand a month or 15 grand a month, it's like sometimes you have that percentage of people that are like, there's no way that's possible, right? Like, how could you do that? You have to be a doctor to do that. And I think like,
I was one of those people.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, well, you did do 11 months of research, so you did jump in, so we're there. But like, I think it's just that, or maybe you can talk about that. Like, what was going, I guess, maybe through your head, or that you think might go through other people's heads when they're like, that's like, there's no way that you can make that amount of money.
Well, I think the best story I can use to kind of relate how it feels, when I was doing a startup a while ago, right? I would talk about millions of dollars, and it would make me uncomfortable at first because I wasn't used to talking about millions of dollars.
Mm-hmm.
But once I learned that $3 million, $5 million is probably just a drop in the bucket for some of the investors I was talking to, it became super comfortable. So, if I could kind of relay that story to RCA and making 10 grand a month, making 10 grand a month is unbelievable and crazy because you're not used to hearing that. You're not used to seeing those successes. But just imagine if your neighbor walked over and every day you asked him, how much did you make this month? How much did you make this month? And then they said, oh, 10 grand. Oh, 12 grand. Oh, 15 grand. Be like, okay, like I believe it now. And then, it's something we're not used to. A lot of people aren't used to making that kind of money. And it's scary. It's scary to throw yourself into something that seems too good to be true. And you're going to tell yourself, there's no way because I haven't seen it. And your brain is going to convince you to not do it because it's scary and you're afraid. and you've never seen that kind of money before. I've never seen that kind of money before until now. Like,
Yeah.
and I tell you, it's real. It is real.
It's 100% like, yeah, that's what I was going to say is it's more often than not, it's going to be someone's like perceived, their own personal perception of money. Right. Because like you said, and even when I first started, one of my digital marketing agencies, like the biggest, I'm sure you've seen like ads about like that kind of stuff. But, that's what back in 2014 is when 2015 is when I started my first, my own business. And like back then the big thing was like, let's get business to 10 grand a month. And then, we hit 10 grand and I was like, oh, well, let's try to do 20. Because like there was no difference, and it was like, all right, let's try to do 50. And then like there was a point where we were doing 100 grand a month at the business. Now keep in mind that wasn't take home. There was maybe taking home a couple grand a month from expenses and whatever. But it's like when you start to not only see it yourself, but see like others like in your proximity talk about those numbers as if like it's just matter of fact, it becomes so much more, I guess believable is like a good word, but so much more realistic like for yourself, So yeah, I 100% agree. I think, anyone that's listening to this, I would just double check, like before you go too down the rabbit hole of like, oh my gosh, like this is a scam, right? People like to say that. It's like, oh yeah, that's not possible to scam. Like that's the first thing that people say. Or it's like a pyramid scheme, or it's just, people have been just so, in this bubble of like, yeah, it's not possible. I'm just going to like keep doing what I'm doing,
Yeah. There's so much noise out there. I mean, and so much trash out there.
Mm-hmm.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah. It's hard to sift through some of that stuff sometimes, especially now. And I think it's only going to get worse of like, the how easy it is to set up a ClickFunnels account and create an offer, So with the offer, I mean, you're still getting into that stuff now. So obviously we'll probably have to do maybe like an update video in like 6 months from now and see where Michael is and how everything's going. So we've been talking a little bit, a while here, and I've loved this conversation, but two really quick things before we kind of go. I want you to speak to two people, and we'll kind of go back, one after the other. What would you say to somebody that is, I guess we kind of talked about it, but what would you say to someone that is skeptical about leaving their place of comfort and jumping into something that does involve some risk, and they're going to need to put the work in, like not even talking about RCA, just specifically. They know they aren't where they want to be. They know they want to create more for their family. They know they have to take a jump and take a risk. What would you say to that person that's just scared?
I would say I've been in your shoes, all right? I was scared, right? When I came in here, I didn't have the option of failure, right? So this whole thing was a very important decision for me, and there was a lot riding on it. But there was never a doubt in my mind that whatever I chose to do, I would not succeed in, right? I knew whatever I chose to do, I was going to do it and give it my best. So I would just say it's natural to be scared. It's natural to be skeptical, because I was that guy, right? Those are natural feelings, and it's a sign of intelligence, right? Because you're not going to move forward with something that you're going to fail at, But I would just, I just want to say, like, if there's nothing else out there pointing you in the direction, giving you that direction, like, use this. Like, I want people to use this as that direction. Like, just take my story, because this is real, man. Like, this works, and just take that leap, right? Because going through life, change is uncomfortable and it's natural, right? So use this story to get out of that place of uncomfortability, or embrace it. Like, embrace that, being scared and stuff like that, and use that as energy to propel yourself forward. So I would say it's natural. I would say just do it because it works. And there's one really important thing that I read. It was by Jim Quick. He wrote a book called Limitless, and he always says, you get to keep the limitations you fight for. So if you want to limit yourself to being scared and not improving your life, okay, do it, right? But if you want change, it's going to be uncomfortable. You're going to be scared, but you got to take the leap.
Yeah.
Don't limit yourself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think, a lot of the stuff that you've talked about, like it's really having the mindset that it's just that it is possible, right? And there's something on the other side and that can help me get out of whatever it is, right? Like trying to create a better life for your family, whatever that, whatever the motivations are. So last thing, we talked about, okay, just person that you would give them advice to. Now, what would you say to someone that's like, all right, cool, I know I need to make a jump, and we're talking a lot about RCA, someone that's skeptical about RCA. And it's like, I saw this guy, Cole Gordon, I don't know. I saw, I'm just kind of skeptical. What would you say to that person to not have them, kind of on the sidelines for 11 months and just to jump in?
Right. Just to jump in. I would say I did all the worrying for you. Like I did all the research for you. Like take my word for it. Right. Don't be like me. Don't wait a year to change your life. Change it now and take that jump, because it works. Like they have the best team in the world. They have the best coaches in the world. You're going to get the best support in the world. It's a system that's been developed. It's not, it's a proven system, right? You're in California. You want to get to Hawaii, right? You can either swim part of the way there like I did, or you can take the RCA private jet and go to Hawaii, right? It's a proven system, and it absolutely works. So don't do what I did and wait to change your life. Because I'll tell you right now, if I would have made this choice 11 months ago, I would be in such a better spot right now. But what we do is we move forward with the decisions we've made. So don't wait to change your life. If you need something to happen now, do it now. Take the jump, take the lead.
There we go, man. I think that's the perfect end for this episode. Dude, first of all, I just wanted to say I appreciate your transparency and just sharing your story. I think it's super, super powerful for anyone that, that's thinking about, again, just doing something other than what they're currently doing, and they know that there's something calling out there that it is so much more. I was in the same spot, when I went to college for like a year, and I was like, I don't like this. Like, I don't want to do this. I knew just every single day I woke up, I was like, I knew there's something more, and then, ultimately made that jump. So, thank you again for sharing your story. Any like parting words or last things that you would say to anyone that's listening on here?
Yeah. I mean, time is the only non-refundable resource we can invest in people. So make it impactful.
There we go. All right, guys. Well, for those of you that have listened all the way here to the end, whether on YouTube or the podcast app, thanks for listening. Thanks for hanging out with us. Now, if any of this, if you're on the fence about RCA or you want to learn more about RCA and like what the heck is remote closing anyway, Cole, a business partner, the founder of Remote Closing Academy, he actually did, or it might be going live depending on when you're listening to this. There's a video that you guys can check out. It'll be down in the show notes in the podcast app, or over in the description on the YouTube. If you're watching on YouTube, go check it out. Just check out the link. There's nothing to sell on that video. It's just information about more about remote closing, how you can use it, how Cole, his story, how he jumped into and kind of creating remote closing as it's known today. So check that out. Again, no pressure, just video you guys can check out. But again, once again, just thank you so much, Michael, for coming on here and sharing that story.
Absolutely, man. Thanks for having me.
All right, guys, another episode of the Remote Closing Academy podcast. We'll see you guys on the next one. Talk soon and peace.